Start, bench, cut these 3 Penn State running backs in college. Can you tell me who Penn State football is playing this weekend?
Sorry, what?
Welcome back into the Penn State Pulse. I'm your host, Dylan Dawson. Penn State travels to the Twin Cities to take on a sneaky Minnesota team on Saturday. You guys know the deal. It's 1-0 every week. You can't overlook anyone. This is a pretty good team the Nittany Lions are facing up against on the road. So let's jump into the basics. Minnesota is 6-4 overall in the year. They have a few pretty nice wins coming against Illinois, which I believe was on the road, and then they also beat USC. They also just came up just short in Ann Arbor, losing to Michigan 27-24 on the road. This is a team that excels particularly on the defensive side of the ball. They're allowing 17.7 points per game this season, which is good for 12th in the country. They have a lot of playmakers on that side of the ball, which I'm going to get into here in a little bit. Offensively, the Gophers aren't going to wow you with a ton of explosives, but they've been that traditional gritty Big Ten offense that finds a way to stay in games. Penn State has lost 2 straight road games at Minnesota when you look at the game history, coming in 2013 and, of course, 2019, which a lot of us remember. Unfortunately, that game has given me a lot of PTSD. So they'll look to snap that streak on Saturday. It's not much of one, but still, regardless, we'd like to snap that. The line is sitting right now, as I'm recording, at Penn State minus 11.5. It's been anywhere between 10.5 and I believe 15.5 in the last week or so. So jumping around a good bit for some reason. So let's get into some guys to watch from Minnesota, and we will begin at the QB spot with Max Brosmer. That is a New Hampshire transfer who's having a very good 5th season of college football, his first with the Gophers. He has thrown for 2,251 yards and 14 touchdowns to just 4 interceptions so far on the year. He's also completing a bit over 67% of his pass attempts. This is an experienced quarterback who doesn't make many mistakes and will keep you in a lot of games. I don't know if that reminds you guys of anyone just off of that quick breakdown, but he honestly reminds me a bit of Sean Clifford. Running back Darius Taylor, that's probably their top guy on the offensive side of the ball. I think he's going to give us Penn State fans some headaches this weekend. He is an explosive and physical runner who has been highly productive on the year with 672 yards and 9 touchdowns on about 5 yards per carry. They feed him the ball a lot. When he's successful, Minnesota's offense as a whole is typically successful. So Penn State will need to shut him down early and often. It's a similar situation to Tawee Walker with Wisconsin. The offense kind of runs through him as Minnesota's runs through Darius Taylor. They also tend to give him a heavier workload in their bigger games. When they played Illinois and beat them, he carried 22 times for 131 yards and a touchdown. And then he carried 25 times against USC for 144 yards. So they definitely like to give him the rock a little bit more in their bigger stages. The Gophers' leading receiver is redshirt senior Daniel Jackson, who has collected 63 catches for 712 yards and 3 touchdowns on the season. He is kind of your all-around versatile receiver. They line him up both on the boundary and in the slot on occasion. All right, moving over to the defensive side of the ball. True freshman safety Coy Parrish is a star in the making. He's probably their top guy on that side of the ball. He already has 5 picks on the year to go along with 21 tackles and a forced fumble. Parrish is a big physical safety. I think he's like 6'1 or 6'2 and about 200 pounds. He has elite ball skills. And it's not like he was a diamond in the rough as a recruit either. On3 had this kid ranked as the number 35 overall recruit in the country and the number 2 safety in the class. And teams like Ohio State, USC, and I believe Michigan were trying to flip him late, but the Gophers were able to keep the Minnesota native home, and it seems to already be paying dividends for them in just his freshman year. All right. Defensive lineman Ja Joyner is the Gophers' sack leader on the year with 4.5 so far. He's listed at about 6'5", 265, so he can line up anywhere along the line. He also has 28 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, and a pretty ridiculous 7 passes defense. He gets those long arms up and knocks down a bunch of balls. Their leading tackler on the year is linebacker Cody Lindenberg with 76 through 10 games. He also has 6 passes defensed, a sack, and an interception. Lindenberg is a pretty big backer, standing at about 6'3", 240, but he's still deceptively quick for his size. All right, moving on. Let's now jump into some game predictions. First up, these are 2 very good secondaries going up against 2 very good QBs, but I think the top guy at that position shines through on Saturday. So give me Drew Allar outpassing Max Brosmer by at least 100 yards. Also, I apologize. I don't know if it's Brosmer or Brosmer. I think I've said both so far. So let's just roll with the punches here. Next up, Zion Tracy has been looking pretty good on those punt returns, and I think he is due to break one in the near future. So give me a Zion Tracy punt return touchdown against the Gophers. And finally, and I hope this is a jinx, I'm going to say that PSU has a scoreless first quarter. Penn State has had slow starts in a lot of these road games, so it'll likely continue this Saturday. I think USC was really the only exception. I wouldn't mind at all if this prediction was the one that I got wrong. And then for the score prediction, I do see Penn State eventually taking control of this game, probably at some point in the second half, and pulling away to win 24-13. I think the offense struggles a bit, but scores when it matters and gets the job done against a stout and, in my opinion, a bit underrated Minnesota D. And the defense limits Minnesota to a pretty high degree, but the Gophers still find points at the end of a few drives. All right, so that is going to do it for today's episode of the Penn State Pulse. Thank you all so much for tuning in as always, and I will see y'all after the game to break it down.